Hello everybody, Dylan here. Now today we are talking about yet again another Christian troll. This is one of the more important trolls throughout all of the trolling sagas. This is Clyde Cash. Now, if you've been following Chris for a while, you probably don't even need to know who Clyde Cash is, but for the guys who are just getting into Christian, this one's pretty important. We'll start with this little quote. "Your butt's gonna be in trouble, Barbara Chandler to Clyde Cash." And then we have another quote. "Gone strong that Clyde Cash." That's Chris to Clyde. I remember which video that was. That was Chris, I think that was Chris assaulting the clown doll, if I'm not mistaken. Clyde Cash, alias Greg Mays. That's Greg with 3 G's, by the way. 4th of July, 1976, is the leader of the Miscreants, which is a bad Metal Gear reference, and is often considered to be Chris's arch enemy, if you know about Chris Chan stuff. Out of all of the Chris Chan trolls, Clyde Cash remains quite possibly the most popular and notorious. In Chris's revised Encyclopedia Dramatica page, Clyde is referred to as the Starscream troll. Why? This is a reference to Transformers character named Starscream. Yeah, but why call him that? If he's like the head troll, why wouldn't you call him Megatron? I don't get that. Who would often switch sides or plot to overthrow Megatron behind his back. Chris says that he believes Clyde Cash allegedly killed Blue Spike. That's because Clyde said he killed Blue Spike. But if Clyde's the one in charge of everything, why would he be Starscream? That makes no sense. It would be Megatron, but whatever. Ironically, despite Chris's constant demonizing of him, Clyde has warned him about several things that would later return to bite him in the ass. Yes, he did. Clyde actually did try to help Chris, and he told Blue Spike he was going too far with his trolling. Clyde isn't actually that bad of a guy, the Clyde that we heard in the recordings anyway. Such as his unwillingness to work, his spending habits, and poor treatment of women. This was years ago, and he was talking about the spending habits, and now Chris is like thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt. If he would have took Clyde's advice, maybe he could have avoided all of that. Even predicted Chris's innate desire to dress like a woman. Yes, Clyde actually knew quite a bit about Chris. He got up in Chris's head. This is the pic that Clyde gave for a photo of him. That's not him. That's a Guido. So just know that's not actually a picture of Clyde's face. So name, Clyde Cash, also known as Greg Mays. Date of birth, we already read that. Gender, male. Nationality, American. Okay. Race, white. Spouse, Panda Halo, which is another Christian troll. Children, Penny Cash. Siblings, Ryan Cash, which I think that's the guy who killed himself, I'm pretty sure. Relatives, Vivian G, cousin. So they made up this guy, and he has a lot of the other trolls related to him. Origins. Pro tip. Clyde Cash is a fake identity taken on by a bunch of trolls. The quickie treats it as if he was real because he was the Chris. It's also funnier that way. If you didn't know that without having being told, you're more autistic than Chris. I did know about that. A lot of these trolls are several people taking on one identity. That's just how trolling works. For the longest time, Clyde had no problems with Chris, although he disapproved of some of his content. He was pleased to see the joy the franchise had brought to his brother Ryan. And just know, this is the backstory for the character. It's not the backstory for any real person. Every night before bed, Clyde would read Ryan the latest issue of Sonichu Adventure until Ryan had dozed off to sleep, usually within the first 3 pages. That's about how long it takes for me to fall asleep reading Sonichu. This changed when Chris announced that his usual knee-jerk fashion that he was going to stop drawing Sonichu comics. Clyde tried confronting the upset Ryan to no avail. One night in mid-December 2008, Clyde entered Ryan's bedroom intending to share a tray of freshly baked gingerbread men, because of course so wholesome, only to find his lifeless form of his brother swinging from the light fixture. He hung himself. The dark silhouette of his body threw ghostly shadows across the room. On the desk, Clyde found a note. Apparently, the pain of not knowing whether Crystal would be released from the dark mirror was too much for the young Ryan to bear. Clyde screamed, but no sounds would come out. Collapsing to the floor, he swore undying revenge on Christian Weston Chandler. The torment begins. Clyde's first act was to rape Chris's sweetheart, Panda Halo, but it did absolutely nothing to Chris, as he simply moved on to the next gal pal. If Panda Halo was a real person and Chris had actually been talking to her, I'm sure it would have turned out the same way. But yet you get a bunch of white knights in the chat going, "Oh my god, Christian isn't that bad of a guy." If your girlfriend got raped by someone and then decided to live with them out of Stockholm Syndrome, would you just give up? Do you just give up on them? That's... God, people just don't understand how Chris works in the head. If only they knew the type of person Chris could be if he had the ability to be that person. Chris believes that Clyde married Panda Halo and had one sent daughter named Penny. Then Clyde posed as Greg Mays, a web designer working for Nintendo, to gain access to Sonichu.net, holding the site for ransom. He told Chris to make a video proclaiming that he was gay. And then Chris was, he made a video and he said he was a Gabian, and Clyde's like, "What the fuck is a Gabian?" And he's like, he's a gay lesbian, he's a Gabian, which is kind of the first hints that Chris Chan would go on to call himself a lesbian rather than admit that he's gay. It was kind of showing all the way back then. That was like over a decade ago, and Chris was already showing that he'd rather call himself a lesbian or a trans person than admit that he's gay or a cross-dresser. He then told him he'd make a video declaring his straightness. Eventually, Chris regained access to the site. Striking again, Clyde worked with a troll and got rid of the domain. Chris, being the resilient hero, bought Sonichu.info. With the help of Panda Halo, Clyde managed to gain access again, because of course he did. Chris is that fucking helpless. It was around that time that Takashi Tezuka, yes, and Jay-Z were doing their Animal Crossing game project. Clyde then decided to make things more interesting by posing as Shigeru Miyamoto, yes, that's Shigeru Miyamoto, to destroy any chance of the project, teaming up with Julie to set up a mumble chat in which Chris could communicate with the true and honest Sonichu fans. Clyde stalked Julie with infiltrating these chats to confront Chris, and Clyde would act like he knew Julie. Yeah, it was really gay. I don't like the Clyde and Julie shit. It's not funny. It's just weird. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm just not into the Clyde and Julie shit. Maybe it's because I have the hindsight of knowing that Julie is like a 13-year-old boy that I don't find it funny. But to each their own. He began throwing demands to Chris as to clean his room, learning from Jordan Peterson, I see, before Jordan Peterson was even telling people to do that. Chris, at the same time, also bought Sonichu and Rosachu.com. Clyde got access yet again because of course he did, this time with the help of Julie. In the end, it was revealed that Julie was a 13-year-old boy and that Clyde had staged the whole thing. Yeah, but he couldn't even keep the 13-year-old boy in check. Fucking Blue Spike started disobeying him and started doing things that he didn't want him to do. But Clyde did stand up to Blue Spike and told him to stop. But well after Chris had shoved a whole medallion up his ass. After that, he sent out his trusted Hebrew friend to scout out at Chris's whereabouts. The MIPS turned Robert... Oh, it's Robert Simmons the Fifth. I want to do a video on him too. Into a troll and infiltrate Wesley Memorial United Baptist Church. That's a long fucking title. He then stole Chris's one and only date, Emily. When Ivy came along, he decided to continually harass her. And despite Chris making a few threats, Ivy eventually gave in, and rumors circulated about her killing herself. And that's why Ivy killed herself in the comics, well, offhandedly. Oh, and Clyde also hacked into the PSN a few times, but then Jack Thaddeus did one better, And to think all this was done to Chris not caring about the fan's tragic suicide, that being his brother. On 22nd of May 2009, the death of Clyde Cash by a shotgun wound to the head was reported to the miscreants. The incident was deemed a suicide, although some suspected foul play. So Clyde was dead at that point. In the comic, this is Clyde. He was a character in Sonichu. He was bald and he was broke because Clyde Cash, and Chris thought it'd be funny if he was bald and broke. Ha 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 ha. In the comic, Clyde is a villain working for Mary Lee Walsh. Apart from capturing Ivy, getting into a fight with Chris, he initially only appeared on the CWC music video Holding Out for a Hero, officially Sonichu Special Number 1. Not much is known about Clyde, other than he lives in a mansion and owns his own pickle gun and slander ray. So it's a pickle gun and a slander ray? That's too OP. He needs to be nerfed. He made his first appearance in the comic proper in Sonichu 10, which was the last issue of the original run of Sonichu. As 4centgarbage.com building is collapsing. Basically, in the comics, Chris wanted to kill off all the trolls. So for some of the trolls, he fucking staged his own 9/11 and blew up the 4centgarbage.com building with the trolls in it. And it was collapsing, and Clyde and Jack decided that they were gay. And they decided to embrace each other as the buildings collapsed and he died. So that's how he died in the comics. I don't think that's retconned either. He condemns Clyde and Jack for being homo trolls. When Beale escapes, he condemns the two for their actions, saying that being homo trolls or slandering and whatever. That's an artist's depiction of Jack and Clyde's final moments. Currently, after Clyde faked his death for reasons unknown, he came back with a vengeance. Chris wasn't very pleased. In 2009, when not baiting Liquid Chris for Hand of Casey, Chris spent his time trying to convince Clyde Cash, alias Greg Mays, or Greg Mays, alias Clyde Cash, depending on which name he remembers first, to face him in one-on-one battle. Chris recorded several feats of strength, though combination of Casey trying to get him into shape, and a desire to frighten Clyde Cash with his bulging muscles. Too bad Chris doesn't have any muscles. Chris had also a picture to blackmail Clyde, but ultimately nothing came from it other than a series of videos where Chris tries to torture Clyde. Clyde scoffed at the final video, however, because of the negative reaction to Sonichu Special Number 4. Chris in the Wikipedia mailbag made clear that he would sit and talk with Clyde to try to get him to stop harassing him. Eventually, Chris decided to revisit his old nemesis in 2010, believing he was the reason why he lost the Heart of the Wallflower, which is another person I want to talk about later. In it, he's shown fighting Clyde, then pulling a knife and slitting Clyde's throat. What the fuck? As a warning to all the trolls. In another well-thought counter-trolling plan, Chris unsuccessfully attempted to scam Clyde into paying him $9,001 for destroying his own PS3. This almost fail-proof scheme was, however, foiled thanks to Sir Shaftito's vigilance. I want to talk about him too. He's pretty funny. In 2014, Chris drew art of him and Clyde making peace as some part of a commission. Notably, Chris completely screwed up Clyde's height, making him look much shorter than what he really is. And this is the photo of Chris and Clyde making peace with each other. Now, if I see some videos of Clyde that I want to play, I'll play them right here. That's it. That's all I wanted to talk about for Clyde Cash. Clyde Cash is one of the most popular Chris Chan trolls, and he was one of the trolls that was around for the longest amount of time. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you really like it, share it. If you want to see more content like this, then subscribe. If you want to support the channel, go to my Patreon and donate there, or you can donate via PayPal. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.
Fight!
Fair. Okay? Look, I'm trying to get my website back up. I'm just having troubles between the fact that my account was deactivated for a time, then I'm waiting for it to be reactivated from the people at Yahoo. I talked to him on the phone, so I know all about this. So, what do you want, Clyde?
I'm trying to tell you that the people at Virginia Mental Health, they've been trying to take you away.
Well, I got news for you. My family is going to defend me, and I am not going to go into any institution. So you could just back off.
No, I'm trying to warn you. Look on your latest video. You're talking about being a fictional mayor of a fictional town known as Quickville. This is why they're after you.
Well, if they dare to come after me, they'll come after me in person. And until then, I'm not going to fret about it. Look, let me do this work, and I'll come on to Mumble another time. So, unless Clyde had something else he wanted to say as another reason why he dragged me away from my work.
What work? Christ, man.
I'm trying to get the website back up.
That's not work. Nobody cares about your goddamn website, okay? Why don't you go back outside to the real world? That's what I've been trying to do.
Well, I'm
When's
going
the
to be
last
going.
time you went outside?
Well, I got news for you, Clyde. I'm going to be going back out there and actually find myself a woman locally after I get over this virus.
Face it, Chris, you're never going to find that woman.